Alrighty, yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Mr. DDG94 back with another reaction video, and today we're going to react to the most fraudulent 60-win teams in NBA history. Okay, off rip, like 60-win teams off rip. The one that I could think of the most is like the 2015 Atlanta Hawks. They was in the thumbnail of this video. Shit, I'm trying to think who else. Fraudulent. Oh yeah, the 07 Mavs. The 07 Mavs. The 07 Mavs. I'm trying to think who else. '07 Mavs, the Hawks. I think Toronto went 60 one year, and LeBron swept them niggas one year. I believe so. Them the only teams I can think of right now. But yeah, anyways though, let's get right into this video.
Fraudulent 60-win teams. When a team wins over 60 games, you could safely say that they're in contention for the championship.
Oh, forgot about
so
the
when
Phoenix
they surprisingly
Suns.
lose to a team that they should have beaten, not just lose, but lose badly, it raises some questions. Were they actually as good as their record indicated? Or were they simply built for the regular season, not the playoffs? Let's take a detailed look. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and in this video, I want to take a look at 6 of the most fraudulent 60-win teams in NBA history. The 2021-22 Phoenix Suns.
Yes, sir.
In the previous year, the Suns surprisingly shocked everybody and made it all the way to the NBA Finals. However, one caveat was every team they beat was missing either their best or second best player.
Facts.
Then, after going up 2-0 against the Bucks, they lost 4 straight.
And that was the greatest time in my city, nigga. That was arguably some of the best time in my city. Sadly, I didn't get to celebrate this because the day after they won the championship, I moved all the way down south. So I didn't even get to enjoy the championship. I just went to the mall. Bought me a championship t-shirt from Dick's Sporting Goods. Pause. I just went to Dick's Sporting Goods the next day, got me the championship shirt, and then I drove all the way down here. So I didn't even get to celebrate, bro. I was happy though. Don't get me wrong. I was happy. I was jumping up and down, nigga. I was up at my grandparents' house because I pretty much had all my shit in the back of that U-Haul. So I was ready to go. I was just at my grandparents' house with them, chilling. I said I was gonna spend the night there. That I was gonna get my move. I was gonna get the move on. Had to drive all the way down south, man. It is what it is.
As the championship slipped out of their fingers. So fast forward to the 2021-22 season, the Phoenix Suns managed to win an astounding 64 games. This was their best record in the history of their franchise.
Damn.
Better than any regular season that Nash and Stoudemire ever had.
Damn.
Better than anything in the Charles Barkley or Kevin Johnson era.
Damn.
However, there were still some doubts in the back of our minds. When the Suns reached the finals the previous year, going through all of those injured teams, the question became, are they actually this good when facing a team at full strength?
No.
Can they make it back to the finals once again?
No.
Not only did the Suns get blown out at home, but their 30-point halftime deficit was the largest in the history of Game 7s. There's no Game 7 in history that had a blowout as bad as this one. And funny enough, this happened again in Game 6 a year later. Another 30-point halftime deficit, this time to the Denver Nuggets.
Damn.
Basically, everything that could have went wrong, went wrong.
Facts.
DeAndre Ayton completely vanished. Jay Crowder barely hit any wide-open shots. Devin Booker lives and dies by the mid-range. This time, he died.
Damn.
Chris Paul looked like he aged 5 years overnight. He turned 37 on May 6th.
I'm still trying to understand why teams trust Chris Paul to be a part of their roster. I haven't figured that out yet. Who the fuck in this time and age hasn't figured out that Chris Paul is not reliable anymore, bro? When are people gonna understand that, bro? How has nobody figured that out yet? Chris Paul is not reliable anymore, dog. This is the most unreliable player I've ever seen, bro. For real.
Prior to turning 37, he was averaging nearly 23 points a game in the playoffs. After he turned 37, he averaged 9 points a game and turned the ball over like crazy. And he's normally very good at taking care of the ball. Same with Booker, they both had several high turnover games, which ultimately cost them the series. They had a game where they combined to turn the ball over 12 times, another game where they combined for 13 turnovers. Even though Dallas increased their full court pressure and their length disrupted them, many of their turnovers were caused by a complete lack of awareness and lazy play. As the lead ballooned to 46, this wasn't even the worst blowout Chris Paul has been a part of. Back in the 2009 playoffs, Paul's Hornets lost to the Denver Nuggets by nearly 60 points at home. You could point to the Mavs aggressively trapping Paul and Booker to force them to get rid of the ball, but this Suns team was just mentally weak, with a roster of players who just didn't want it bad enough, and crumbled under pressure. The 2010-11 Spurs. It's very unlikely we see a number 1 seed choke in the first round. It's even less likely to see it happen to a well-coached team like the San Antonio Spurs. As the 2011 playoffs began, the Spurs had a lot to prove. In the previous couple years, they saw the Lakers regain their championship status with 3 straight finals appearances, while the Spurs were struggling to get back there. It made us wonder, can they still do it? Is their dynasty over? After a dominant 61-win season, people were still hesitant to call them a true contender.
As they should.
For one, Tim Duncan just had the worst season of his career. They were going through a transition.
Bro, the Western Conference was a problem back in this time. You still had the Lakers at the top. You had OKC with KD, Westbrook, James Harden. Bro, the West was not gonna be easy. You had the Memphis Grizzlies teetering around. They was starting to become their own team. Yeah, this is the year before they drafted Kawhi, Jalen. This is the year before they drafted Kawhi. I think after this season was over, they traded for Kawhi. They traded George Hill for Kawhi in the draft, and then the lockout happened. But yeah, man, the Clippers was a thing. Well, no, I take that back. This was before Chris Paul came to LA. This was before Chris Paul came to LA. This was the year before, so not the Clippers. The Nuggets. Nah, this was in this season right here. This is when Melo got traded to the Knicks. Yeah, this is the year Melo got traded to the Knicks. The Nuggets was not going to be a problem, not at all. This was the season when Melo got traded to the Knicks. I'm trying to think of any other team besides OKC and damn, I can't think of any other team outside of OKC. I mean, yeah, you had Dallas. Nah, the lockout year was 2011 to 2012, Jalen. It was 2011 to 2012. 2010 to 2011 is the year when LeBron went to the Miami Heat. Yeah, 2010 to 2011 is the year when LeBron went to the Heat. This will be the first year. This will be the year when Dirk. This will be the year when Dirk and them won the championship. Yeah, man. Yeah, the Spurs it was not going to be easy for the Spurs, bro.
Period, as their main core was slowing down, but Kawhi has yet to arrive. Not to mention, the Spurs slowed down drastically as the year went by. After the All-Star break, their record was only 15-11. Everyone likes to point out Ginobili's elbow injury, but he only missed 1 game, and he still led the Spurs in scoring. This new upcoming Grizzlies team featured a bruising front court, a top 10 defense, both of which gave the Spurs a ton of trouble. Despite the Spurs having the league's number 2 ranked offense, the Grizzlies were equipped with arguably the NBA's best defensive backcourt, Mike Conley and Tony Allen. But it was their big men that gave the Spurs more than they could handle. They were straight up bullying them. Duncan looked like an old man, and he was basically their only big man. unless you count Antonio McDyess, who was 36 years old and retired a few months later. They simply could not handle them in the paint.
Got injured.
Some say, oh, this was simply a matchup nightmare for the Spurs, and they would have fared better against any other team. However, because they had such a huge weakness in the front court, they would have most likely lost to the Lakers or Mavs regardless. Despite the Spurs' record, this was one of their weaker teams of this era. The 2019-20 Milwaukee Bucks.
Alright, man, I'm finna skip this part. Hell no, we not doing this, bro. The only reason why I say this is not valid, you gotta hear me out. 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 This is the 2019-20 Bucks, okay? Hear me out. This was the bubble year. You gotta remember that. This was the bubble year. Who the fuck was playing like themselves in the bubble? This is the bubble year. I'm not counting this one. Hell nah. Fuck that. I don't care what anybody say. Fuck that. This was the bubble year. Niggas was not in body shape. Niggas was not in tune, bruh. Hell no. I'm not counting this, bruh. Fuck that. I'm not counting this, bruh. I'm not counting this, bruh. This is the COVID year. Hell no, bruh. We was playing, the niggas was playing in a bubble. Niggas was playing in a fucking bubble. Niggas wasn't even ready to come back, bro. Hell nah, dog. I ain't counting this shit. I ain't counting nothing. If you fucked up in the bubble, you fucked up in the bubble. I don't blame no team that lost in the bubble. But we not gonna say fraudulent. Hey, yo, Kwame, Kwame was good. Was good, Kwame. We not gonna sit up here and say the Bucks were fraudulent. Nah, you good, brother. You good. You good. You good, Kwame. You good, brother. So the Clips 3-1 doesn't count? Nope, I wouldn't count it. I wouldn't count anybody that fucked up in the bubble. You gotta think about it. It's a momentum thing. Niggas have to find these teams are trying to find their chemistry, bro. You going into the playoffs. And think about it. We was in March by the time the season shut down. So think about it. Teams were already starting to get into playoff mode. They were starting to find a niche. And then on top of that, rosters weren't complete. You gotta think about it. They skipped over the buyout season, so they couldn't pick up the pieces that they needed for their team. They just had to take who they could get and take it to the bubble with them. You gotta take this into consideration, y'all. You gotta take this into consideration. This was not a normal season. Remember, the season got shut down for like 5 months. I don't count this season. Any team that fucked up in the bubble, I can't really say you was fraudulent. No, but this shit was weird, okay? I'm just saying, bubble teams are weird. The bubble year was weird. So if you lost in the bubble, I can't really say you was fraudulent. It's a chemistry thing. It's a getting back in shape thing. It's a, am I really, you got to also think about this too. A lot of players didn't go to the bubble. I'm just saying, a lot of players didn't go to the bubble. I'm just saying. What about the lockout year? I mean, the lockout year, I can't really blame. The lockout year, it depends. If players were getting injured left and right, like the biggest injury from the lockout year really was Derrick Rose. Outside of Derrick Rose, who else got injured? I'm just saying. Everybody wanted to talk about the lockout year. Oh, they playing too many games. They playing too many back-to-backs. Only one superstar really got injured. Nobody else got injured. I'm just saying. But the lockout, I'm not counting it. 2021 though. Nah, that's just like the lockout season. That's just like the lockout season. It was just a condensed season. That's it. This was like, bro, they were getting ready to go into the playoffs and all teams' momentum was stopped. I'm not counting the bubble, bro. I'm not. I'm sorry. I can't count the bubble. No.
The Bucks did not win 60 games this year, but they were on pace to do so.
We didn't even win 60 games. How the fuck are we the most fraudulent 60-win team and we didn't win 60 games? Hell no, bro. This is cap. This is cap. Next. Please, next. Who is next? Who is next? I'm not counting. Hell no. We didn't even win 60 games. Hell no, bro. Cap. Cap. It's all cap, bro. It's all cap.
The 1993 to 94 Seattle Supersonics. The Seattle Supersonics were one of the most dominant teams of the 1990s, a team defined by their balanced offensive attack, and an incredible defensive backcourt that even Michael Jordan admitted was the toughest team he'd ever faced. In this season, however, Jordan was absent, as he briefly retired to play baseball. Naturally, this opened up the entire league. Several teams were now in the running to win a title. But who is the next team up? Well, the Seattle Supersonics were young, they were ready, they were ambitious. And after a dominant regular season, they became the favorites to win the championship.
Oh yeah, they lost to the
Then, this happened.
Yep, they lost to the Kembe Mutombo.
Mutombo embraces the ball and the unlikely upset, one of the great upsets in NBA playoff history, the 8th seed.
The lowly 8th-seeded Nuggets won 3 straight games to knock him out. This was the first time in NBA history an 8th seed defeated the 1 seed. The driving force was none other than Dikembe Mutombo. The Nuggets were a great defensive team with him at center, and he completely nullified the entire Sonics front court. Shawn Kemp, who was the team's second-best player, was held to fewer than 15 points a game on horrendous shooting.
Damn.
Mutombo averaged 6.2 blocks per game. Since the NBA started recording blocks, that's the highest blocks per game average of any playoff series ever.
Damn.
For the Sonics, it was a disappointing end to an otherwise fantastic season, and unfortunately, a year later, they got knocked out in the first round again, after winning 57 games.
Oh, damn.
With 1994 and 1995 being the best years they had to win a title, the Sonics missed their chance. Because soon, Jordan came back to squash their only shot to win the title. The 2014-15 Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, this team was very fraudulent.
Is it valid to say that a team that reached the conference finals was a fraudulent team? In this case, I think it's valid. Unlike most teams on this list, nobody expected this Hawks roster to win 60 games to begin with. They didn't have a single player average over 17 points a game, and some journalists even called them the Spurs of the East.
Hell no. Ew. Who the fuck said that? Whoever said that need to be fired. Ew. But no, the only reason why I never believed in this team is because they never had a true superstar. But the fact that they did end up making it to the conference finals only to get swept by LeBron and Kyrie and them, that's remarkable. But to say they was fraudulent, I wouldn't say they fraudulent though. I would say they was a team that just so happened to they just so happened to be a team that was actually just having a good season. That's the most I can say. They was just a team that was just having a good season.
Their offense was reliant on ball movement, a lot of passing, less dribbles, and a lot of high-quality shots. Equipped with a roster of players, including their bigs who could shoot, dribble, and pass, it was a system that worked. Mike Budenholzer was an assistant coach on the Spurs for 17 years, after all.
Was it Kyrie
In fact,
hurt?
only the Golden State Warriors averaged more assists per game than the Hawks this year. Except there was one thing missing. Despite having 4 players make the All-Star team, which ties an NBA record, by the way, their lack of a true superstar came back to bite them. Despite their regular season dominance, they certainly did not look that way in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. Even when they won, you could tell their offense was getting stifled. There were stretches where they couldn't score at all. There was nobody you could throw the ball to and reliably create a play out of thin air. They needed to operate within their system to score.
Yeah, I thought the Wizards.
It also didn't help that the NYPD broke Thabo Cephalosha's leg, forcing him to miss the entire playoffs. He was their best perimeter defender. In the conference finals, they got dismantled and swept by a Cavs team that didn't even need Kyrie.
Oh yeah.
When you think of a team that was solely built for the long grind of the regular season, this 2015 Hawks roster is the perfect example. They were deep, they were talented, and they played within an unselfish system where any player could fit in and contribute.
The last 2 games
but
or the
at the
last
end of the day,
game.
that's all they were, a great regular season team. And finally, at number 1, the 2006-7 Dallas Mavericks.
This team is very fraudulent.
Few teams in history have reached 67 wins. For the Mavs, this was supposed to be their greatest year in NBA history. They were an established franchise who've been contending for a long time, but now they finally broke through.
I thought they
were ready to bounce back after a shocking defeat in the finals, and this season they were determined to get revenge. Preseason odds had them as the favorites to win the championship, and they shattered their expected record. On the other end, this was the Golden State Warriors' first playoff appearance since 1994.
Damn!
The We Believe era gave the franchise hope. They sported a group of guys who were seen as misfits and
hey, this team was underrated. You had Baron Davis, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, Jason Richardson, Bergianis, and Monte Ellis, bro. They had a young Monte Ellis on the bench, bro. This team right here was fucking loaded, bro. They had too much talent on this team. And they had Al Harrington, too. Bro, this team was fucking loaded, bro. That's crazy, dog. And the fact that they could have made it to the conference finals as an 8th seed is crazy, especially in the Western Conference of all places. Around this time frame, that's crazy, bro.
Outcasts.
This team was fucking
But one
loaded,
thing they had
bro.
in common was they had a chip on their shoulder. They were determined to prove their critics wrong. Coming into this series, the Warriors were 3-0 against the Mavs in the regular season. Still, for a team as great as the Mavs, you gotta expect them to make adjustments, right?
Yes.
It looks like they needed more than that. Unlike the slow-footed, slow-paced, methodical Mavericks, who dominated with their half-court sets and their calculated approach on offense, the Warriors were the complete opposite. They played with a relentless amount of energy, running and gunning, first in the entire NBA in pace. Not surprising for a team coached by Don Nelson. Oh, that's another thing.
Most definitely.
Don Nelson coached Dirk Nowitzki for the first 7 years of his career. He knew his game inside and out. Back in 2007, Dirk struggled a lot against smaller defenders. The guys who were 6'7", 6'8", athletic with quick hands disrupted him greatly.
Damn.
His postgame wasn't very polished yet either. The Warriors were a small team, but they also had the quintessential players to counter Dirk.
Damn, he switched that
The
shit.
Mavs had the advantage in size, but their bigs did not score much in the paint. They were 25th in the league with just 35 points a game in the paint, so the size difference didn't matter as much. Dirk had by far the worst playoff series of his entire career. You combine that with the Mavs' inability to keep up with the faster Warriors, it was the perfect storm for the Warriors to take the series. However, the loss wasn't the most embarrassing part, it was what happened afterwards. So, the NBA used to announce the winner of the MVP in the second or third round of the playoffs, usually in the middle of the arena. They had to do a separate press conference. So, Dirk accepted the trophy shortly after they got sent home.
I wouldn't even accepted that
It was
trophy.
the most depressing, unceremonious MVP announcement I've ever
Fuck
seen.
this shit, trade me.
The Warriors got easily handled in the
"Fuck this,
second
trade
round
me."
by the Utah Jazz.
I ain't accepting that
It was
damn
just a
MVP.
horrendous
Trade
matchup
me.
for the Mavs, and it makes you wonder, if they didn't play the Warriors,
goddamn
how far could they have gone? They matched up super well against every other contender in the league, so maybe it's too harsh to call them frauds, just because of one bad matchup. What do you think? Anyway, that's all folks. Those were 6 of the most fraudulent 60-plus win teams in NBA history. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Which other teams do you think should have made the list? Do you disagree and think some of them weren't frauds, and simply had bad matchups that got exploited? Thank you all so much for watching, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.
Hold on, let's see here. Yeah, man, I just go about doing for this one, man. Oh man, god damn, dog. Yeah, dog. All these teams. I wouldn't say a lot of these teams are fraudulent. I just say they just had a good season, just a bad postseason. So I don't think reaching 60 wins makes you fraudulent. I think what makes you fraudulent is if you've been consistently good, but you haven't done well in the playoffs. If you're consistently doing that, then yes, you're fraudulent. But if you do manage to win or go further than where you keep getting stopped at, then by all means, I think that makes you a good team. And that's why I don't agree with that Bucks argument, because we ended up with a championship. So I think that fraudulent statement might need we might need you to redo this list, bro, because I don't believe in that with the Bucks. Because in fact, we went to the promised land the next year. So you know what I'm saying, my brother? You know what I'm saying? But nah, man, that's just gonna about do it for this. So I'll see y'all next video. Till then, peace out.